Hey, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm talking about everything I watched in January. The first show I watched was Gravity Falls. I had a really fun time rewatching some episodes and I was very impressed with them. I've always loved Gravity Falls, but it was really nice to get back into the show. The next movie I watched was When Harry Met Sally. So if you've seen the movie, you know near the end of the movie there's a bit of a New Year's sort of thing, and it was actually during New Year's that I was like, wait, we should watch that movie again. So we watched it again. I definitely like this movie. I'm not a fan of the old-timey music, but I definitely enjoy this movie. I think it's a really good one. The next movie I watched was The Fox and the Hound. I just happened to be scrolling through Disney Plus and I found this one, so I decided to do a rewatch. It's a really good movie, but it's also really sad, but you know, it's nice to watch again. The next movie I watched was Scream 4. Now, I've never watched Scream 4. I've watched Scream, Scream 2, and then the newest Scream, but not Scream 3 or 4. So this was my first time watching Scream 4. I thought it was interesting. I'd say of the Scream movies I've watched, this is probably one of my least favorite ones. But I guess since I've watched so many of them, I guess I'll give Scream 3 a try since I haven't watched it. The next movie I watched was Jingle All the Way. So my family and I had started watching it during Christmas time, but we didn't end up finishing it, so we watched it in January. I kind of had more of an appreciation for it this time around watching, because usually I really don't like the movie, but it's not bad. The next show I watched was Seinfeld. It's been really nice to watch Seinfeld get some new episodes since there's so many I've never seen before. And yeah, it's a funny show, so I'm glad I've been watching it. The next show I watched was Gilmore Girls. So I started watching Gilmore Girls, I'd say in 2019, and I probably stopped somewhere in season 2. This time around though, I really got into watching it, and I got to about episode 12 of season 6. I feel personally watching this show that when Rory was in high school, it was still a good show, but once she was out of high school, I just don't feel that the show did as well. And really seeing season 6, some of the plot points they have there, it was just so obvious that this show was supposed to go much earlier than it did. They were making some very weird creative choices, and it felt very soap opera-y, which is not the kind of show I signed up for. I did have a good time watching it, but I wish I just stopped when it was still a good show. The next movie I watched was Bruce Almighty. This was another rewatch for me. I've seen it a couple times before, and it was still a good movie. The next movie I watched was A Man Called Otto. So this movie, it looks like it could be a nice, sweet movie from the trailer. Now, as I was starting watching the movie in theaters, I was like, this movie reminds me of Up. Now, just a warning for anyone who wants to see the movie and hasn't seen it yet, this movie really deals with suicide, kind of graphically, so forewarning. And unfortunately for me and many other people, there's no warning, say, in the trailer or anything, so it kind of just hits you. So when I got to the first part, I was like, oh, this isn't like Up at all. It was really nuts, and so much of this movie was just way too hardcore than what the trailer led the audience to believe. But the movie was really good in spite of that. So I was pretty impressed with the movie, but at the same time I was pretty upset that no one had given me a warning. The next movie I watched was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So I'd watched the first 2 Harry Potter movies last year, and I had started the third one, but I didn't end up finishing it, so I started it over this time, and it was really, really fun. I had a great time with this movie. Now, usually The Prisoner of Azkaban is my least favorite of the movies. I'm just not a fan of the story, but this time I actually really appreciated it. It was really good, and it was nice to have a different sort of vibe to the story, because usually it's a similar vibe throughout the stories. So it was a nice movie to watch again, and I'm really glad I did. Because what's nice is I got to go to Universal earlier in January, and I was kind of feeling the Harry Potter vibe, and I was like, I gotta watch those movies again. So maybe later this year I will have All the other movies, I'm gonna have to see. The next movie I watched was Monsters vs. Aliens. So I was scrolling through Netflix and I happened to find this one. I haven't watched this movie in a number of years, but it was really fun to watch again. And of course, as many people know, as they're a kid and then they grow up, there's sometimes adult jokes that you don't get until you get older. And there were definitely some of those that it was like, oh, I didn't even notice that before. But it was a very enjoyable movie to watch. The next show I watched was Shark Tank. So I just happened to be watching a little bit with my family. Now, I've watched this show many times, but this was like more in the early times. Eventually I was like, this isn't my kind of show. And usually I am just kind of like, okay, they're watching this show, I'm not interested. But sometimes, some of the episodes, it was like, ooh, this is so captivating. I have to know what happens with this business. And the bidding war and stuff like that, it was fun. It was a nice time. The next show I watched was Psych. It's definitely a good show. It's not my favorite, but it is enjoyable, so it was nice to watch a little bit of that show. The next show I watched was Abbott Elementary. Some of the newer episodes were pretty good. I still am not as impressed as I was with season 1, but it is good. And I really like how they incorporated a cat in the show. I just really like when shows or movies have pets in it, whether it be a dog or a cat. It's a much better viewing experience. The next show I watched was The Owl House. So I watched the new episode, season 3, episode 2. It was really excellent. I was very pleased with it. I thought it was very good. I am very much anticipating the finale, so it's great. And then I started rewatching again the other episodes from the show. It's just one of my all-time favorite shows. I just really love it. The next movie I watched was Someone Like You. So I happened to be scrolling through Hulu and I have been kind of like, oh, I haven't seen a new rom-com in a while. Like, I really like the good ones, but I haven't seen too many new ones. And by new ones, I mean new to me. So I happened to see this movie, Someone Like You, and I'd never seen it before. Then I watched the trailer, and it didn't seem like my cup of tea. But for some reason, it just kind of stayed in my mind, so I was like, okay, let's give this a try. Yeah, this just wasn't my style. I think some aspects of the movie were alright, but if I'd never seen this movie before, my life wouldn't be any different. And I definitely think the classics like 13 Going on 30, 50 First Dates, rom-com movies like that, they're far superior than this kind of stuff. It's just like, you tried, guys. No. The next movie I watched was Men in Black 3. So I'd watched Men in Black 1 and 2 in December, and I wanted to watch the third one. It was really good to watch. And so, like, my family and I, we really like to quote that movie, like Let's Agree to Disagree and things like that. Oh, if you haven't watched the movie, there's this thing where Jay has to kind of lie, and so one question that Kay asks is, what's your wife's name? And he's like, Darren. And so it's just a funny part. If you've seen the movie or you just want to see that clip, you should look it up because it's pretty good. Yeah, I thought this movie was great. It was really nice to watch again. The next movie I watched was Doggone. So if you don't know about this movie, this is based on a true story about this dog that gets lost. I was so much more intrigued after watching the movie, seeing the article that kind of detailed what really happened than the movie itself. It just wasn't that great. There were some really strong emotional moments, but the overall quality, it wasn't there. The next movie I watched was Failure to Launch. I don't even know why I watched this movie. I just was kind of like, this is something to watch. I wish I didn't. It wasn't that good. I didn't buy the romance, and I wasn't amused or anything, so there wasn't really any positive aspect to this movie for me to enjoy. The next movie I watched was Missing. So I remember how much I enjoyed Searching back in 2018. I was really impressed with the format, so I was so happy that they had a new project out with Missing. I really enjoyed the movie. I'm not going to be doing any spoilers, but just for me, the twist, I would have preferred it going a different way, but I understand why they did what they did, because it's definitely unexpected. And I was very impressed with the editing. Now, obviously, there's a lot to the editing process for this kind of movie, but I was really impressed. There were multiple times where I was like, man, the technical choices here they did was great. And the music choices, when things were like dramatic or creepy, they really did a good job with the tone. And sometimes where it's like, oh, I hope nothing bad happens. Now, some people may think to themselves, if they haven't seen Searching or they won't be watching Missing, oh, this movie couldn't do too much to actually make you feel it because it's on a screen. No, it is really good, and if you are considering it but have not decided to go to it, I do recommend you do it because it's a really great movie. That is everything I watched in January. If you guys enjoyed this, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Comment below what you watched in January. And if you guys enjoyed this content and would like to see more movie content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want to see my most recent video, you can click here. Or if you want to see my other movie wrap-ups, you can click here. Bye!